My name is Bryson, and I've lived here in beautiful southern Utah, Ivins, for 17 years. I came here as part of a law enforcement response that I did as a police officer. And I used to work as an abducted child investigator for the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office. And I conducted an investigation here, recovered the abducted child, and the people were so super, the law enforcement was so great, and the town was just outstanding that it stuck with me. I started off my life as an architect. I worked as an architect for 2.5 years. I worked as a police officer in Los Angeles for 20 years. I worked all the way from a street policeman to a traffic officer. I worked undercover assignments during the major riots that were occurring on the campuses. Worked also as a detective. Basically, I don't like what's going on here. I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years that things have gone they've grown out of control. The developers have carte blanche to do anything they want.
Why is that?
Well, it's because if you look in our particular city, the mayor of the city is a developer. We have another individual, Lance Anderson, who is a developer, and he's on the board. As a result of that, there are some individuals on the board who don't have the background, and they wish to go along with what the two developers on the board say. The other thing is, you look at the zoning problems that are occurring in this city, and you kind of shake your head and scratch and say, what's the story here with zoning? There's no rationale. There's a general plan, but the general plan doesn't make any sense in how they actually lay out the city. Well, if you look at who appoints those two boards, one for the general plan and one for zoning, it's the mayor. And again, what did I say? The mayor's a developer. Pretty clear conflict of interest. Just last week, the mayor went over to Black Desert with the other city council people and they went under a circus tent and they had an extravagant lunch. Only the city council was involved to go there. The mayor went there also, and he was invited. That's a conflict of interest because no one else is there other than city council members and the mayor. And that has to stop. We have to have a code of ethics that they follow, and I don't see that. I want to make sure that the city council doesn't do things which you as the public look at and say, that's a conflict of interest. It's the good old boys. And that's the bad part. And they are the good old boys. I hate to say it. The other thing is you look at Lance Anderson, and he's on the board. He's a developer in a number of the communities here. And when they gave the contract of expanding Highway 91, guess who got it? Lance Anderson. Now, if that isn't a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. In all my investigations, I have to throw back Chevron Corporation again. Okay, I used to go out and do site surveys and do things for service stations and look at specifically lighting, because lighting is a safety issue. Okay, however you want to look at it is a safety issue. But can you work together with night skies? Yes, you can. And there are a lot of surveys that show that. Salt Lake City doesn't have dark skies communities, but if you just listen to the news, there are people continually being hit by cars, kids on bicycles, and things of that nature. So we have to look at combining the two together without risking the safety on the streets for the kids. And the deal is, I working for Chevron, we used to look at how the lighting in a service station reflects onto the community. And we would actually go in there and find out what was needed in the community for their lighting, okay, for the service station, for security, and do the different evaluations of those. I've talked to the communities like Heritage Village down here, and I've explained this process to them. There's a lot of actual studies that have been done in regards to lighting and not specifically dark skies, but in regards to crime. And it does have some effect, but it doesn't have the effect everybody thinks. There is a situation about the kids, yes. I would like to get more community parks, even if they're just a couple of lots in a community. Perhaps require developers, when they do develop, to add a little neighborhood park so that you can go actually into the neighborhood, have 1 or 2 lots so the kids can play there. Normally the kids who are going to play there aren't going to come to large parks like Unity Park here that we have. So they're going to hit wiffle balls that aren't going to go and break people's windows. But that's what I want to bring to them. But the main thing I want to bring to people in this community is I'm sick and tired of going to City Hall and listening to those folks absolutely ignore people. The process, and I'm sure there are people out there who know what the process is and are upset with that, because I am. But the process is simple. You can't go at every city council meeting and talk to anybody. That you have to look to see whether or not they have a public forum for that particular meeting. And if they do, then you go to the meeting and you have to fill out a form. And then the form, you have to tell them what it is you want to speak about. And then the third part of that is that they only give you 3 minutes to talk, and then they cut you off. Well, if you have something that's important to you, it's going to take you more than 3 minutes to put it out. And then after that, they ignore you, they ridicule you, or they come up with some cocky-mammy story about 6 of one and half dozen the other, and it means nothing, and you never hear anything from that point. I want to go back to something that I did as a law enforcement officer. We had a thing called community policing. You probably all heard about it. Okay, and all that was we as the police officers went into the community and we spoke to the community and we built up a rapport. The rapport was not for them to like us. That was not the rapport. The rapport was for us to get the information from them so they would feel comfortable speaking to us, which you don't have when you go and speak to the city council. And you have that confidence that you can come to me and talk to me about the things. Some things I can take care of right away as a city councilman.
Like what?
Well, if, for instance, I've been told while I've been going door to door in this community that they've called the city works department to have a bush cut and blocking a stop sign, and that no one has done it. And I can make a telephone call as a city councilman because I did it as a police officer, and they're out there within a day to take care of that bush or tree and get it cut down. And some people are afraid to go cut it down themselves because they're afraid this big, huge, ugly city here of Ivins is going to come after them for cutting down the tree. So under those circumstances, but I also found out one thing that's very important, and that is it's a two-way street. Okay, you can tell me the problem and I can fix some of them, but I've also found that if we have a good talking rapport, you and I as the community, that you sometimes have a solution to the problem too. But you don't want to tell anybody because somebody's going to ridicule you about what it was that you have as a solution. It may not be the total solution. It may require a whole bunch of people at that meeting that we have to actually solve the issue. But we can do it. And I know we can do it because I also took care of one problem that Vista School had. Okay, Vista School had a problem where all the cars would line up on Center Street. And then they would also line up on Park Avenue. Park Avenue had signs posted on it, no stopping. Well, that means no stopping. People would park there. No stopping is one step greater than no parking. And people were lining up along the curb, coming across 2 lanes of traffic into a driveway. Okay, I had seen cars almost take out one of those cars coming across 2 lanes of traffic. So I saw a police officer there one day, and I was asking him, what's the story about that? And he says, well, they really don't want us to cite for that. And I said, fine. So whatever the police chief's doing, I don't know, there may be something there, but whatever. So I contacted the principal. The principal said, well, we're gonna take care of it. It's gonna take a couple years, and we're gonna build a street behind the school. And then people can pull into there. Okay, to make a long story short, my program took, that I did, I looked at the problem, analyzed the problem, and then drew out, with my architectural background, and I drew out a plan of where the vehicles should actually flow on the street. They should go up Center Street, go up 400, and come across 200, and then down Park Avenue. They cross no streets, they cause no problems. The cars come off of Center Street, and they don't park on the wrong side of the road. Okay, the school still balked and said no, and he said, what can I do? And I said, you can tell the parents if their kids, if they don't park in an area they're supposed to, if they don't follow your plan, they don't come to your school, period. It's a simple thing. You send a letter home with the kids. So those are some of the things, but I really want to have community meetings. I want to come to your churches. I want to come to your schools. I want to come to your HOA meetings. I want to come to your parks. I'll come anywhere to talk to you. But the important part is that we have to get community support to this, and I think that if I can get that, and I can work with some of the city council members, and that I think that we can have that. But we're going to need your support. So here I am. I'm here. I'm running, and I'm spending about 7 hours a day on the street. I'm walking door to door in 105-degree temperature, and no, I'm not crazy. I want to get the word out, and I hope you see my character. Ivins, they always complain about there's no tax base other than that of property taxes. So we need to have a little bit of smart businesses here where the tax base is broadly spread out. I don't like to have businesses in residential communities. And if you think of how the best way city planning should be, is that usually you put businesses on a through highway or something of that nature, or at least one which is a major corridor through your community. I look at this and all I see in that major corridor, which is Highway 91, is more and more houses. In looking as a city planner, and here goes my architectural background, and also I have a master's degree in public administration. When you do a layout of a city, usually you put your business district as the front part, and then you put some sort of light, I would say apartment buildings, some maybe townhouses, and then you put a green area so people have something to play in, to actually enjoy with their dogs, walking and so on and so forth. And then back from that you have your high density types of buildings. The way it's laid out, you're putting single family homes, and then you have nightly rentals right there in a neighborhood. They're not compatible, and I hope to change if I ever get on the board to actually get together with other supervisors and start putting a plan together which actually brings some sanity to the development and the plan to this city. One other thing, I want to bring up night skies and some of the things that the city's been asleep on. The fire station on Center Street was actually abandoned for a month and a half before the city actually knew that was abandoned. And so that meant that possibly your home insurance would go up because your insurance is based on a response time by the fire department. And as a result of that, it could have affected your homeowner's insurance for fire insurance. So I can't imagine, especially they were putting in a brand new, at the request of the city, which is Santa Clara. At the request of the city of Santa Clara, they were changing the radio system for that particular fire station, but they never advised Ivins that they were closing it down and firing the employees. So it's kind of a crazy thing that they didn't know that. In regards to your dark skies, I'm amazed that people aren't so upset about that, because the Chivowitz Indian tribe they're in the process of building a huge sports complex out there. And they hope to use that for rental purposes, for groups to come in. But I'm looking, and they will probably have lighting. And if you've seen some of the parks that we've had here for softball, that certainly lights up the sky. And we ignore all of the other communities that surround us, and we're not an island. And we should be working with all of them. We should be working with the Chivowitz Indians. We should be working more with Santa Clara so they don't shut down our fire station. We should be working more with the city of St. George, because they're going to be loading cars and so on onto Highway 91. And Highway 91 is going to be 2 lanes each direction and a center divider. But if you look at how that's designed, it has 2 lanes coming in and 2 lanes going out. What that means is a bottleneck at both ends. Where is it? How is that going to help? I believe that took $3 million that they're putting into that. Okay, if we don't start working with people, we're going to have a huge problem here, even with traffic. So I look at those things, and I think that those are really concerns that I have. And we have to work together as a community, and we have to bring faith back into, and not the religious faith, but faith in our government and our political individuals. I'm not a politician, never have been, never really wanted to be until now, because I think the situation is that bad. Also in Ivins, there's a huge turnover with their law enforcement officers here. I believe in the last 6 months they've had 5 new officers. They've only got a 16 officer force, and then they have management on top of that. So there's a lot of things they can't do, and they're talking about the fact that they want to raise taxes in the city of Ivins because they don't have enough money for the fire and police budgets. And I'd love to see how they do the budgets. So those are some of the things that I would like to work on. Well, if things keep going the way they are, it's going to be overdeveloped and continue to be overdeveloped. Right at this point, it's not overdeveloped, it's not correctly being developed. That's in my point of view. But I also look at the thing you just brought up in regards to walls and the paving of streets. And if anyone's ever been to Las Vegas, okay, they'll see what crazy growth has done to a city. The important part is I've experienced humidity changes in this city. And the humidity changes is because of swimming pools. The humidity changes are because of so much concrete and asphalt being laid down. And as you pointed out, block walls being put up. And just the flow and things that are going on here in regards to air. So in the dirt, oh my gosh, the dirt that comes off of building sites is just terrible. They tried to take care of that in my community by requiring at least 2 inches of gravel to put on all vacant lots. But when they're doing the excavation for the development, nobody's putting anything down. There are sprays that can go down on the actual dirt that can make that the dust level drop considerably. And I think we have to look at those types of things, because I've seen things which I would call a haboob coming through from the Chivowitz Indian tribe, which is a huge dust cloud, and actually engulf parts of Ivins. And those things have to stop if we're going to keep the air quality that we have. So we just have to look at how developers work. We have to look at why and where they put things in this community, and we have to change those things. And maybe it requires the city, the people who live in this city, to get angry and not to storm the city hall, but actually look at the people who are running for the office, look at their backgrounds and examine why it is that they're running for the office. Because I have, and I'm not happy about that either. So under those circumstances, I don't have any benefit. I'm not going to make money from doing this. I'm not a developer. I'm not into getting a business here and making big, huge loads of money. I'm a retired person, and I'm happy for that. And I'm happy to spend the time that's required. If a person has a full-time job, they don't have the time to be a city council member.
Like the owner of Tuacahn.
Like the owner of Tuacahn, I'll say that. I do spend my time, I spend my money too in making this a better city. And I just want to make it the city that I came here 17 years ago and saw. Okay, a city that had friendly people who helped everybody. You didn't see, at least at that point in time, I didn't see the infighting, but they approach things here totally crazy when they look at affordable housing. Everybody just wants housing which is cheaper. Okay, what we need to do is find out what the people who are here, what kind of housing they need, and then focus on providing that housing. A lot of people don't need homes. They would rather have an apartment, or they would like to have a townhome. Okay, then we can look at those particular things and develop those areas. And like I said, we're going to have the loop around the southern Utah. And when that loop gets in, those will be areas that we also can develop. But there's a whole bunch of things that people think we on the city council can take care of. Let me tell you two of those things that we can't.
Okay.
The first thing is, everyone's complaining about the school trust lands. We can't do anything about them. The reason for that is the school trust lands were given away with conditions. And the condition was no regulations can be done for those particular properties. So they can build a 60-foot or 60-story building right next to your one-story home in your nice little community, because they don't need to follow the same rules. The church properties are exactly the same. Okay, do we need to look at those things? Yes, we do. Do we need to work with both the schools and the churches? Yes, we do. But the thing is, we need to work hand in hand, and without the just broad general brush of we can do whatever we need to them. And a lot of people are upset that the school trust lands, that's exactly what happens. They're the big brother and they come in and do whatever it is that they want. Well, we need to work with our legislators, because we in the city council can't do anything. But if we get all of the city council members together, we can work and we can change those things. The newest thing is the state's legislators in the last session passed a new code, which said it's 406 is the new one, and they are taking away the rights of the cities and local municipalities to actually control how some of the things are regulated here. Example is color of the homes, the walls, how they are going to be put up. You can put up a bamboo wall now, apparently. But we're in the process of looking at, and I'm looking at those things that it's affecting. But it's going to change everything that we love in this place, the beauty of this place. And so those are the things that we need to work with, but we can't do it on city council, but we can do it as an influence with our state legislators. And that's what we want to do, and we have to work together as a team. And that's also what we need to do with the water, because the only thing that's going to stop us from keeping and getting our water is the fact that the cities don't want to listen to what the water board is saying. The water board is saying that we need to work together as a community. That's St. George, that's Santa Clara, that's Ivins, that's Washington. And the Zach, who runs the actual water conservation district, he puts on a great presentation. He explains his 20-year plan. He explains the 2 brand new reservoirs that we're going to have. He explains the recapturing of water, that you were supposed to, believe it or not, you were supposed to have secondary water at your homes because builders have been required to actually plumb for the last approximately 7 years, secondary water to your home. And that water was meant for your lawns and your shrubs around your house. And we actually use 50% of the water for inside the home and 50% of the water roughly for outside the home. The 50% outside percolates, and we can capture some of that again as groundwater and part of the aquifer. We also have the 50% that comes through your house and goes into a drain. There are 5 different systems that the Water Conservation District can use to actually clean the water. One of them, which is to actually bring it up to total drinking standards, the same as what's coming out of your water right now, and they have a plan for that. But if we don't use the 50% that's coming into your home now and going to your landscape, that's 50% that we can recapture and put in a reservoir. And yes, there'll be some evaporation from that and possibly some loss in distribution from point A to point B. But we will have that, and we'll probably extend our water supply for years and years and years to come. Because if we're only using 50% now for potable water, we're going to have 50% more roughly for potable water that we're not even using. And then we will have the secondary water, because we are actually in the process of getting a secondary water retention pond over in Kayenta for us. But all of the water, don't let them tell you that they own the water, they being the cities. The cities don't own the water. The Water Conservation owns the water. They only sell it. The cities are retail sellers of the Water Conservation District's water. So in regards to water, they can shut off anything and everything to everybody. There's only one thing the Water District can't shut off water to, and that's the fishies. Okay, the fish have to have their water, and that's part of the government overseeing it. But they've done the studies. The Water Conservation moves water around so the fish have the water, so they don't become extinct. And so that's not a problem. The Conservation District can also cut off the water to the churches and can cut off water to the school trust. If there's no water, nobody gets any water. So we all need to work together. In conclusion, I'm Paul Bryson. I'm going to be on the ballot, and I certainly need your support. Please, not only vote for me, but please tell your friends and neighbors about it, because I need every vote I can, because I try and reach enough homes. I don't know if I can do that at the end. I just want to do the best for this city, and I try my best, and as I said, I'm walking the streets. If you see me, wave to me, say hello, do whatever. Offer me some water, but usually I already have some. But I really need your vote, and thank you very much for sitting through this. And I hope it was informative to you, and I hope this city turns into the city we all want and love.